Hey everyone, and welcome to the finale of the tile game series. I think this is episode 12. Today we'll be finishing up the shop system so you can actually buy stuff and do cool stuff, and yeah. And we'll also be adding in like the ladders so you can climb, because that's, you know, what ladders do. And we'll also be adding in the torches because I want to be able to see underground, because right now it's dark, and I think it'd be cool to add torches. And also I got a bunch of comments about it reminding me because I forgot. If you want to help the series out, then make sure you hit that like button and consider subscribing. Also comment down below. Let's get right into this video. We need to make a list of all the items that'll be in the shop. So in the backdrops, in the item meta, we need to add a bunch of new things. So add a label called in shop with a colon, then a label called shop price with a colon, then shop price, then a label called sell amount with a colon, then an input sell amount, a label buy lock, and then you can do parentheses true like this because this will always be true buy lock. Then we need one called item tier, which is the tier of the items. That way you can't go out of order of the item tier, so you'll actually have to buy the copper before the gold, say. So item tier. Then last but not least, add an input called can buy again with a colon buy again. And then last but not least, item type with a colon, then item type. So this will keep track of if it's like a normal item or a pickaxe or whatever. Okay, so now we have a ton of new things we need to fill out. So for most of these, the in shop will be false, shop price will be null, the sell amount will be 4 because you can sell it, the buy lock will be true because it always will be true, item tier will be 1, can buy again will be null because we don't have anything, the item type will be basic because that's just a default item. Now for most of these, that will be the same. I'm just going to copy all of those values for all of these 4, so null, 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 null. The dirt will be 1 along with the grass, and then the wood will be 2, clay will be 3, buy lock for all of them will be true. The item tier for all of these guys are 1 up until the wooden pickaxe, so take that out. Can buy again is null because it's not actually in the shop, you can just sell it, so all of these will be null except for the torch. After the torch, don't put anything in there. Then all of these are just the basic item type. Torch is in the shop and its price is 2. Its sell amount is 2. Its item tier is 1. It can be bought again, and its item type is basic. The ladder is in the shop. Its shop price is 1. Sell amount is 4. Buy lock is true. Item tier is 1. Can buy again is true. Item type is basic. So I think you get the point. I'm just going to go through all of these and fill out the values. The wooden pickaxe is not in the shop because you automatically get it in the beginning, so it doesn't have any of these values. And you can't sell it either, so you can just put null there. The item tier is 1 because it's the very first pickaxe. And the item type will be pick. Okay, now the stone pickaxe is in the shop, so that will be true. And its price is 50. Sell amount is null because you can't sell it. The item tier is 2, so because it's 1 better than the wooden pickaxe. And the can buy again is false because you can only buy it once, and its type is pick. So these will mostly be the same. So tin, copper, silver, golden, and then this one are all pickaxe types. These are also all in the shop up until this one. The tin pickaxe is 125, this one is 300, this one's 750, and then this one is 1000, and then this one is 5000. Sell amounts on these are all null because you cannot sell the pickaxes you have. The item tier for this goes 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, and then 7. Can buy again on all of these are false. And then last but not least, we just have some tiles to fill in. So the in shop is false for both of these because you can't buy silver ore. The shop price is null because you can't buy them. The sell amount, however, is 25 for the silver and 50 for the gold. The item tier are both 1. Can buy again are null because they don't have anything like that. The item type is basic, and so is the gold one. Alrighty, so we finally filled out all the data for these weapons and stuff in the game. So now we need to actually add those to there. To add item data a bunch of times down here, we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you need to add 7 of those. Add item data. So 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so now you do in shop first, shop price, sell amount, buy lock, item tier, buy again, and then the item type on the bottom. Okay, so now that we have all this data, we can actually make the shop inventory. So make a list called shop inventory and delete all that in the beginning of the create item meta. So delete all of shop inventory. Now at the very bottom here, we just want to check if the in shop is equal to true. Then we simply add the ID of the current item to the shop inventory. Okay, so now if we open up the shop inventory, you should see in the beginning a bunch of IDs popping in. Yep, look at that. These are all IDs for things you can buy. So there's 6, which is the torch, 7, which is ladder, then we jump to 12, which is the stone pickaxe, and so on. Now in the Shopkeeper, we can actually use those IDs and stuff for the buttons. So in the tick UI, switch costume to item 1 of background meta and change this to item 1 of Shopkeeper. And instead of 1, do the item shop list ID and put that on the very top. Let's make it to where it switches to null if the costume doesn't match. So that way we can see if we haven't made a costume for it. So if the costume name does not equal to duplicate this, then we'll switch costume to null to let us know that we need to make a costume for the item in the shop. Put an if else in here and check if this right here is equal to blank, which means that this doesn't have an item. Then we set the ghost effect to 100% so it hides it. Otherwise, we clear the graphic effects like this. So if we've done everything correctly, we should see the items be set correctly in the shop. So if I press E, look at this, we can actually see the different items from the shop. We have the torch, the ladder, the stone, the tin, the copper, but we can't go down and see the rest. So let's add scrolling into the shop. So go ahead and add a when up arrow pressed like this, which actually for some reason detects when you scroll. It's a weird scratch thing, but it works. Then you want to check if the ID is equal to sprite, so that way only the sprite can do this. So if ID is sprite, then we want to check if not up arrow is pressed. That way you can't use the up arrow to scroll. Then you want to make a variable for all sprites called shop scroll y. Then you want to go ahead and put an if else in here and check if the shop scroll y is greater than -1 or the length of shop inventory is less than shop item amount, which means we're at the very top. Then we want to set the shop scroll y to 0. Otherwise, we want to change the shop scroll y by make another variable for the sprite only called shop scroll move amount like this, and then change that by the shop scroll move amount, and then broadcast shop scroll up like this. Now go ahead and do a when I receive shop scroll up, check if the ID is equal to the item by, which is the buttons item by. Change, we want to move the y, so change the shop y by 0 minus shop scroll move amount. Now go ahead in the beginning and set that shop scroll move amount to 25. Set the shop scroll y to 0. Okay, so now we need to do the scrolling down as well. So duplicate this part and then do down arrow and change this to down arrow. And for now, go ahead and just do this part in the if. Then we don't want to do anything. Otherwise, we change the shop by 0 minus all of this stuff. We broadcast shop scroll down like this. Duplicate this. And then in the shop scroll down, change y by just the normal one. Okay, so if we've done everything correctly, we should be able to actually scroll up and down. So if I do this, we can scroll down and it actually switches the costume. So this one, this torch will be at the top, teleport to the bottom, and switch its ID to the new one. So that way we can have an infinite shop. Alrighty, this is awesome. But you can see that we can actually infinitely scroll off the screen, which is not very good. So let's limit that. Make a for all sprite variable called shop bottom cap and set that shop bottom cap to negative, a really big number in the beginning because we don't actually know it yet. Then in the tick UI at the very bottom, go ahead and check shop item list ID is equal to the length of the shop inventory, which means we're at the very bottom. Then we want to go ahead and set shop button cap to the shop scroll y plus the item shop y like this. Now in the scroll down, we need to make sure we actually check for all that. So just put an or in the scroll down part and then duplicate this and do the shop scroll y is less than shop bottom cap And now hopefully we should have the shop limited, so we can only scroll down to the bottom. Yep, look at that. I hit the very bottom here and I cannot scroll anymore. Okay, so the last step of all this is to make it to where you can actually buy the items and use them. So first, in the held item, make sure you set the current item to the item number ID of the wood pickaxe, which is 11. That way it doesn't break anything, so set it to 11. Now in the shopkeeper, find this section right here and make a variable called buy not locked. So this will keep track of if we can buy it or not, and set that buy not locked to true, so it is not locked. Then we want to forever check if the shop is open. So if is shop open is equal to true and touching mouse is equal to true, then we want to also check the mouse is down. That way we have to click. Then we need to make a for the sprite only variable called item price, which will find out the price of the item. Now we want to set the item price to item 1 of shop inventory and changes to the item shop list ID, item number in item grabber. Then you want to go ahead and add onto that the amount to figure out the price. So for us it is 5. So go ahead and then do +5, then do the item 1 of item meta and put that in there. Now for testing, let's go ahead and just say the item price so we can make sure that this worked. And go ahead and click on this and now click on this guy and it says nothing. Nice. Okay, I think I know why, because the shop open is a for the sprite only variable and every clone has its own. So instead we need to do thing of tile manager. So we need to go ahead and go into the backdrop and do backdrop number changes to the is shop open of shopkeeper and put this in there. And now put that in this part right here because that'll check if the actual one is true. So now you should see that it says the price, hopefully, when we click on it. So we click on this and click this. It says 50. This one's 2, 1. We scroll down to this guy and it says 5,000. This one says 300. Okay, so that is correct. Now let's check if we have enough money. So we can check if the money variable that we have is greater than the item price -1. Then we make a custom block called buy item like this. Click on run screen without refresh and then run the buy item. Then you wait until not mouse down to make sure it doesn't do anything weird. So just wait until not mouse down. Okay, so now that we know we can buy the item, let's check if it is a pickaxe item. So go ahead and duplicate all of this and then figure out what we need to shift it by to get the item type. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we need to add 10. So go ahead and shift this by 10. So if the item type is equal to pickaxe, or just pick because that's what we named it in there, then we want to go ahead and say pick for now. Otherwise, we'll say basic just to make sure this is working. So you can see if I open this up and click on the torch or anything, it won't let me because I don't have enough money. But if I go ahead and change the money by like 2, so now I have 2 coins, and I click on this, it says basic because that's what it is. This one says basic as well. But if I give myself enough money to buy a pickaxe, you can see that this says pick. Cool, so that's working. Okay, so now we need to check if buy not locked is equal to true. So that way it hasn't already been bought. And we need to find the current weapon tier. So that would be 10, 9, 8. So we need to go ahead and add 8 here equals, make a for all sprite variable called current item tier like this, and check if that equals the current item tier +1. So that means it's equals to the next tier. So if it does, then we can go ahead and say hello for now. Now in the held item, we want to go ahead and set that current item tier underneath here to all of this +8. So you can see if we open this up, it should say the current item tier is 1 because we have a wooden pickaxe. Yep, it is. But if we go ahead and give ourselves a bunch of money and open up the shop, we cannot buy a tin pickaxe. Yep, but if we click on the stone pickaxe, because that's the next tier, it says hello. Alrighty, so this is working good. So let's go ahead and replace item, duplicate this, and then figure out what we need to shift it by to get the buy lock. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we need to shift it by 7. So add 7 to this, replace all that in the item meta with false. So that means that we cannot buy it anymore. Then we set the current item number to this of shop ID. Then we want to get rid of our money. So change the money by 0 minus the item price, which is how much it costs. Okay, so I just gave myself a bunch of money. And if I go ahead and click on this, I can click on the stone pickaxe and it bought it. And now if I press E again and try to click, it doesn't work. Fantastic. Okay, and the reason that doesn't work is because I accidentally renamed the shopkeeper somewhere in there, and that kind of broke it, because in the player here, right here, I check is shop open of shopkeeper, and if you rename it, it kind of breaks those, so make sure it's back to shopkeeper. And now you can see, once I boot up the game, and we open up the, oh wow, I'm in a tree, and we open up the shop, if I click on the stone, it doesn't do anything. But if I give myself some money, change money by like whatever, 25, and now I open up the shop and click on the stone, you can see it takes away some money, and then if I hit, look at this, I have a stone pickaxe. It also mines a bit faster, as you can see here. Wow, that's nice. But say if we get a ton of money, like that, and now if I try to skip like to silver, you can see it doesn't do anything. I still have stone. But if I click on the tin, you can see that, look at this, I now have tin, and then copper, I click on that, I have copper, and then so on. So there we go, that is working now. Now let's kind of visualize that, because it's kind of hard to tell what you've bought. So let's gray out the bought ones. So inside the shopkeeper, scroll around until you find the main tick loop, wherever that is. And in the clear graphic effects section in here, do an if here and check if the buy not locked is equal to false. Kind of a weird variable name, I should have named it better, but that means that we are actually locked. Then if we are locked out from buying it again, set the brightness effect to -20. Okay, so I have a lot of money now, and if I click on the stone pickaxe, I have the stone pickaxe, and that also does not quite work. Interesting. Let's go ahead and just say buy not locked, and you can see that all of them are the same. Okay, so that's the issue here. So go ahead and leave that code in there, and let's go ahead and figure out why that's not working. Oh, it's because we never actually set the buy not locked. That's kind of an obvious thing, but I forgot. So in this tick loop, set the buy not locked to, remember right here, in the item meta, this one right here, buy lock, this is actually what keeps track of if this can be bought again or not. So to get that, we need to add 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to it. Okay, so we can go ahead and just duplicate all of this and then add 7 here. So this will get if it can be bought again or not. And now just go ahead and set that right there. Let's test this out now. After we give ourselves some money, we should see that it grayed out. So none of them are grayed out, but then if we buy the stone pickaxe, it doesn't work. That's because I renamed it again. I keep doing that. Okay, so make sure you don't rename it like I keep doing. Shopkeeper with a capital K for some reason. Okay, so now it works again, and now if I buy the stone pickaxe, it doesn't work. Interesting. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because I added the wrong amount in there. 7, not 8. Okay, so now hopefully this will actually work. I can hit with a wooden pickaxe, and I press this. Finally, I have a stone pickaxe. This is grayed out, or if I buy this one and this one, you can see once I scroll down, it actually takes out the grade, whatever you want to call it. So now you can actually see what we bought, and we can't buy them again, as you can see. So this slot right here is for if it's a pickaxe item, then we can buy it. But let's do what happens if it is a normal item, like the torches and ladders. So go ahead and edit this by item, and then do a colon item type with a colon, and then an input item type like this. Now go ahead and click OK. And now what you want to do is pull in this part right here into the buy item, wherever that is. Just put the buy item like that. And that's the item type. Now we just check if the item type is equal to pick. And this will just optimize it a bit and make it a little bit cleaner. So let's just really quick make sure that this still works, because we want to make sure that we didn't break something. I can buy the stone and everything works. Cool. And currently, if we click on a normal item, nothing actually happens. Okay, so now let's go ahead and duplicate this and check if the item type is equal to basic, which is, if you remember, in the item meta, all the other ones are basic, like the stone. Okay, so now we want to make sure that it is allowed to be bought again. So that way you can mark certain items as not being able to be bought again. So what we can go ahead and do is just do an if statement in here and duplicate all of this and change this to 9, because if you remember, 9 is the can buy again if all of this is equal to true. So if we can buy this again, then we want to add the item to the inventory. So make a variable called add item ID like this. Then you want to go ahead and set that add item ID to this, which is the ID of the item. Then you want to go ahead and add a broadcast here called add item like this. Then you want to go into the item drop and go ahead and add that when I receive the add item one. First, check if the ID is equal to sprite. Then you want to go ahead and do a can pickup item, add item ID, and if inventory is not full, so inventory full is equal to false. So that means that we are not full. That way we can't overload our inventory. So if it's not full, then we can actually add the item. So add item to inventory, the add item ID. Then you want to go ahead and duplicate this chunk right here and pull that into the shopkeeper. That way we don't accidentally take away our money if the inventory is full. So after we've done all this stuff, we check if it's equal to false, then you want to go ahead and change the money by the 0 minus shop price. And actually, I'm sorry, this does not need to be an and. This can just be a true. We open up the inventory and we don't have any money. We can't buy the torch or anything. Okay, that's good. Then if we give ourselves some money, which is down here, we give our money, we can buy a torch, and look at that, it goes in our inventory. We can click on it as much as we want, and it gives it to us. Or if we click on the ladder, there we go, it goes there, and then we can actually place down the ladders, or we can even place down the torch. Okay, and now we want to change this part to an if else in here, because this scenario is if it's a item, but it also can only be bought once. So if it is, then we want to duplicate all of this right here, and then take out the set current and all that. So this right here will make it to where we can't buy it again. Then we want to go ahead and duplicate all of this. So this will add the item to it, the inventory and all of that stuff. And you know what, to make it a little bit cleaner, let's go ahead and make a custom block called add item to inventory like this, and click on run without screen refresh and okay. And now go ahead and put all of this in here, and then just run the add item to inventory right here as well as right here. So this scenario is if you can only buy it once. And then this one is for if you add more item types. You can just add more in the if else there. And you can see that we can buy this as much as we want and it still works. Or if we go ahead and go into the beginning and change the torch to can buy again is equal to false. So that means that it should be only be able to be bought once. Let's test that out to make sure. So now you can see that we can buy the ladders as much as we want, but if we buy the torch, there we go, it grays out and we cannot buy it anymore. Okay, we can buy it more. Oh, that's because we didn't actually check to make sure we can't buy it again. So let's make sure in this else here, we check if buy locked is equal to false. Okay, so now if we start this game, you should see that we can only buy the torch once and buy ladders as many times as I want, but I can only buy the torch once and it fades out like the pickaxes do. Okay, so that is cool and you can expand on that as much as you want. So let's change the can buy again with the torch back to true. Okay, so now that we know everything is working, there's a little bug with the tiles that have to be placed on the ground, such as torches or bushes, which I kind of addressed in an earlier episode. But as you can see here, I have 4 bushes right now in my inventory, and if I place them in the air, it breaks them. It also duplicates them. As you can see, I have 10 now, and then if I keep holding it, now I have 11, and if I kind of go all over the place, look at this now. I have 15, so you can duplicate items, which is not good. So let's make it to where you can only place those type of tiles on the ground, which is thankfully just a little bit of code. In the place tile, before we do all this, let's go ahead and make sure that if it is a tile that has to be placed on ground, make sure that we're not trying to place it in the air or any funny business like that. First of all, we need to get the item that we are. So that would be this right here. So this right here is the place tile of this item. So you can see if we add 3 to this, 1, 2, 3, this is a place tile. So that means what is the ID of the tile that this item places. For instance, this item stone here has a place tile ID of 3, and you can see up here in the tile meta, 3 is a stone. So this gets the ID of that tile. From that tile, we need to get if it can be placed on the ground or not. So we need to shift that by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's go ahead and do that. Item number of thing in the ID grabber of the tile meta and put that in there. Then you want to shift that by 6 to get if it can be placed on the ground or not. Then you want to actually get that item in the tile meta. So item 1 of tile meta and not 1. We want to do all the stuff we just built. Then you want to make sure that equals to true. So this means that if the item we are holding place tile has to be placed on the ground. So if that is equal to true, and let's make sure that we're trying to place it in the air. So let's go ahead and duplicate this right here, which checks if the tile we're hovering over is equal to air, which is ID 1. And we don't want the one we're hovering over, we want the one below it. So just do selected tile ID -1. And now if you put that in here, this should detect if we're trying to place a tile that has to be on the ground in air. And if it is, then we stop the script to make sure that we don't do anything further. So if we get some dirt here, mine it up and get it, you can see that I can place it in the air all I want. I can put it all over, cool. But then if I get some grass and I try to place it in air, I am pressing the space bar, but it won't let me. But if I put it on the ground, here we go, it works good. Okay, now I think I just found an edge case. I can actually place it on top of another grass block and still do the same duplication. So let's make sure that the one below it is also not a one that has to be placed on the ground and all that. So put an or in this part right here. Then we want to get that in the tile meta. So do the item number of thing in tile meta. Then to get if it's required on ground or not, shift this by 6, then actually get that in the item meta, or not item meta, tile meta, and put that in there. And then go ahead and check if that is equal to true. So put that in the OR here. So if any of that is true, then we want to make sure we don't place it. That way we can't duplicate tiles and all that stuff. So that's quite a thick block, but this should work. Should. Emphasis on should. So you can see now if I get this and place it, that works like normal. But if I try to place it on this one, here we go, it does not work. So let's test this on the torch real quick. Get some torches, and I place down a torch here. Cool, it works, but then if I try to place another one in the air, it does not work, and same with the grass. Okay, so this is working good. Awesome, let's move on. Okay, so next up we have the torch lighting. So in the tile manager, we need to add some new stuff. So go ahead and make a custom block called light addition, and then click OK and run the light addition custom block right in the beginning. So this will add on any necessary lighting if it's a torch and all that. Now we need to check if we are by a light source, so make it for the sprite only variable called is by light source like this, and click OK. Now we want to set that is by light source to 0 in the very beginning. Then we want to go ahead and check is by light source is equal to 0 after the light addition. So that means that we are not by the light, then we just do the normal stuff. So now we need to make a for the sprite only variable called light var for short. Make sure that's for the sprite only, and sets that light variable to the light pause. Now we want to go ahead and make a custom block that checks if it is by a light source or not. So make a custom block called is by light source like this, then a colon, tile list item with a colon, then an input tile list item like so. And make sure you click run screen without refresh and then OK. Okay, now in this custom block, we want to check if the tile in the item meta has a tag that says, hey, I'm a light source. So we need to add that in the backdrops real quick. So edit the tile meta and add a new input called is light source with a colon, then an input is light source like so, and click OK. Now in the new tile entry, duplicate the add tile data here and change this blank input to the is light source. So now we need to just fill this in. So right now the only light source in the game is the torch. So find the one with a torch, which is this one. So go all the way across and then do true. Then for the other ones, just type in false. I can copy that and literally just paste it in everywhere else. Okay, so now to get that, I need to add 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Check if the item 1 of tile grid and change this to tile list item of tile grid, then do item number of thing in the tile ID grabber. Then we want to go ahead and add onto that 9 here. Then you want to do in tile meta, so item in tile meta, put that in there, and then you want to check if that is equal to true. That's if it is a light source. If it is a light source, then we just want to set is by light source variable we made to true. Okay, so now we go ahead and use that custom block here. So do is by light source, then just do the tile list ID variable, wherever that is, tile list ID, add on that the light var variable we just made like this. So let's go ahead and test this out now. Click on the torch, buy some, and if we go ahead and what just happened? Oh, I renamed it again, tile manager. Okay, I don't know how that's happening. Maybe it's the full screen doing it possibly. So now if I go ahead and go here and then place down a torch, look at that, it just made a bright section right here. Okay, so that's working. So now we just need to make it actually do that for all the tiles surrounding it, which is just a lot of duplicating. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do minus, which I believe is the one below it, I think, or maybe above it. I don't remember. Now we want to duplicate this right here to the world height times the light position. So this will make it go 1 to the right. Duplicate the plus and minus and all that stuff. So I get some torches. Cool. Fantastic. Okay, so right here I break it open, then I place them. Look at that. There's one here, one here, one here, one here. So now we just need to do these blocks and these blocks. So let's set these light var to the light position -1. Then duplicate this right here for now, just this top one, and just do the tile list ID plus world height plus light var. Then duplicate that, and then instead of plus here, do minus. Then duplicate that again, and then for this one do plus, and this one do minus. Duplicate that, and then do both minus. So I believe those are the diagonals. Let's go ahead and test test that out and see if I'm right. If I go ahead and go down here and place down a torch, okay, so those were the diagonals, as you can see here. So this is starting to look more and more like a torch. Okay, so let's set light var to world height times the light position again, tile list ID +1, and then add on to that the light variable like this. Okay, now duplicate this and then do minus the light variable, duplicate that again, and then do this one minus and this one plus, then duplicate that one last time and do both minus. Okay, so if we've done everything correctly here, we should have a completed torch lighting effect. Look at that, there's a nice ring of light. So here we go, we now have a way for you to light up your mine shafts. And as you can see, the lighting system all reacts with that. As you can see, my vignette's getting darker, then I place down a torch, and it actually gets lighter. Okay, so now that we have that, let's add the last thing, which is the ladder movement. Because right now, if we start this game and give ourselves some money and we go ahead and buy some ladders and we place them down, you can see that nothing happens, which is disappointing because I want to climb on them. Thankfully, this is pretty simple. So head into the player and find the check collision point custom block. So check collision point is right here. So this is when we check for all the colliding stuff. So right before this, let's go ahead and check if it is a ladder or not. Now to actually do that, we need to edit the tile meta here and add a new label called is climbable, like so, with a colon, then a input climb. For now, the only item in this that is climbable, or not item, tile, I'm sorry, is the ladder. So here, ladder, so go down the line and set that is climbable to true, and then for the rest of them, do false. Now you can of course change any tile you'd like to be able to be climbable if you want, but for now, I'm just going to leave just the ladder. So now let's go ahead and duplicate the add tile data and then do the climbable in here. So go ahead and do climbable, and now it'll store if it's climbable. Now to actually get that, we need to add on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we need to add 10 to get if it's climbable. So now in the check collision, we want to go ahead and do if this plus 10 is equal to true, because we need to add 10 to get if it's climbable. If it is climbable, then we want to go ahead and make a new variable for the sprite only one called climbing, like so. Then we want to go ahead and set that climbing to 1. Then make sure in this part right here, set climbing to 0. That way it resets it. Now we can keep track of if we are climbing or not. Now, as you can see, climbing is 0, but if we touch a ladder, look at that, it is 1. Okay, so that is good. Now we just need to edit the actual player movement to make sure that we are not climbing and all that. So go ahead and separate this right here and add an if in between. Then at the very top, just do collision without any dx and dy. Now it gets if we are on a ladder or not from the center of our player. Now we want to go ahead and add an if the climbing is greater than 0. You could also do equal to 1, doesn't really matter. Then we want to set the in air to 0. That way it's not falling. Then we want to change the y speed by the y input, which we made a while ago. Now we want to do times 5. So it's a little bit faster. You can adjust that, of course. Then we want to duplicate this and do collision. That way we don't run through a wall or whatever. And then you want to check if the colliding is greater than 0. In a simple if, then we just want to set the y speed to 0 and put that right here. Okay, and I think that's actually everything. So let's go ahead and test this out. So you can see I'm jumping normally, but then if I give myself some money and I go ahead and click on the ladder here and place down some ladders, you can see, oh my gosh, that is an interesting effect. That's kind of cool. It's like a velocity-based ladder. You know, that's actually a really cool idea. Hold up, I gotta test this out. Oh my, okay, that's really cool actually. It's like bouncy kind of. Okay, that is not the effect I'm going for, but that is kind of cool, I guess. That's because I did a change Y speed. I meant to actually do a set because changing will actually increase it over time. Setting is just a constant value. Okay, so now if I go ahead and change the money by 20 or whatever and give myself some ladders, hopefully I actually climb up. So you can see that, look at this, I can go up and down using W and S, and then once I get off, I continue falling. It also pauses the animation, which is good. Okay, and then once I reach the top, it's just kind of bouncy. Okay, so let's make this animation work too. So in the animation controller for the player, wherever that is right here, at the very tippy top of all of this, check if the climbing is greater than 0. So if we are climbing, then duplicate all of this stuff, and then we want to go ahead and go down to the bottom and find the starting frame of the animation, which is 19. Then we want to put in the total frames of the animation, which is 2. Last but not least, we want to change the player costume by the abs of take out this and do X speed plus Y speed. So that's just our general velocity. Then you want to take that times 0.05. So it looks like this. You do this and then put that in the abs. Then you want to stop the script so it doesn't do anything else. And if I go ahead and make some ladders now, I can climb up and look at that. There's the animation. And if I'm just sitting here, as you can see here, it's just like that, but then if I move, it actually will go. So there we go, this is working. And then if we get off, it switches the animation. And then it's kind of broken right now because you can mine and it looks really weird, and why is it doing that? Okay, so what we want to do in the player to make it to where you can actually mine when you're not moving and you're on a ladder and it animates correctly and stuff and doesn't do whatever that is, we want to, at the climbing greater than 0, check and hitting is equal to 0. Okay, so now you can see that if we go on a ladder, it shouldn't do the weird things anymore. Hopefully. Why is that there? If I go up on a ladder, it's animated correctly, but then if I sit still and mine, here we go, look at that, it looks like I'm just kind of standing on it, but then it'll go back. Okay, so that is looking pretty good. So one last thing is the shopkeeper sometimes appears when it's loading, so go into the shopkeeper and let's figure out why. So in the beginning here, it does a hide, then it'll do position NPC and show. So you know what, instead, let's put the show in shopkeeper start. Maybe that will work a little better. So you can see that it's doing the loading, no shopkeepers popped up so far, no shopkeeper, and then we start and whoa, that's a little bit weird. Oh, that's because the shop part actually shows. So let's make sure that it's the sprite doing it. So duplicate this part and do if ID is equal to sprite. Then you want to show. Okay, so this should now actually work. So you see nothing popping up here, nothing. And okay, that just popped up. Why is that? You know what? Instead of doing this part, maybe we can just make the loading part go to front. So in the backdrop here, literally just do a when green flag clicked, forever go to front. I think this will fix a lot of stuff. So I think now if we do this, you can see that it hid the other one. Okay, so instead of a go to front here, go forward 1 layers, and then in the clone, do a go forward 25 layers. I think this will maybe work. So yep, look at that. It works now. Let's make sure it works every single time we do it. Yeah, it seems like it's working. And now you can see, hopefully that doesn't pop up anymore. So there's nothing here. And then pop, there it is. Okay, so now it's actually seamless. One thing I noticed is that the item drops are also in front, which is a wee bit weird. So inside the shopkeeper, we need to make sure that this is always in front. So for now, in the speech bubble, do a go to front. In the character, do a go to front. And then in this forever loop for this, do a go to front. That way all the buttons and clones are in the front, hopefully. So you can see now there's an item. Oops, there's an item on the ground and I opened it up. Wait, that's not a good position. There's an item here, and then there we go, it goes behind it, and the particle does too. So this is nice and snappy and smooth, and everything works good. The one last thing to help performance is it's a weird little thing in Scratch. Everything you can do helps. So make a blank costume and literally just name everything in it blank, delete the sound effect, delete the costume, everything in it blank, and put that in the very front. Make sure that your cursor is selected over it, and I didn't add the selling in. That's bad. So inside the inventory, go ahead and find this forever position slot in here and go ahead and check if the mouse is down and you are actually touching the mouse pointer. That way you can't, click it and then randomly buy something. Then you want to make sure that the shop is actually open. So do of shop manager and do is shop open and check if that equals to true. Make a custom block called sell item, like so. Click OK and then run the sell item. Hey, where is it? It's not actually here. Let me reload. In the inventory, there should be a sell item block here. Sell item. There it is. And now you want to actually run that in here. Okay, so now we want to go ahead and decode the amount from the current item. So item, then the variable I of inventory. So that's the current item. Then we want to go ahead and actually sell the item. So give us some money. Change the thing by get the cost, so the item number in item grabber for the item meta, and change this to the decoded value, which is its ID. Then to get the sell amount, let's find the amount you need to shift. 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, 6. So go ahead and add on to this 6 like this, and then do the item in the actual item meta, so item meta, and then put that in here. So this will give us the sell price. So let's make sure we multiply this by the amount in slot. That way if we have 2 of it, it'll get twice the amount that it is. Then we want to delete 1 of inventory and change this to the I of inventory, so it gets rid of the slot. We want to turn 15 degrees and then repeat 3 times, turn back to 90 degrees, turn like this, and then do 90 minus its current direction. Then you want to take all that times 0.5, and at the end, point in direction 90 to make sure it actually made it there. And last but not least, refresh the inventory. Okay, so if we've done everything correctly, we should be able to click on a slot and actually sell it now. So I have 2 grass, I can click on that, and there we go, I made 2 because each grass should be worth 1, and then I had 2 of them. But the wood is worth 2, so if I get 1 of them, as you can see here, mine, I get 1 log and I click on that, I get 2. Okay, so that is working correctly. Or if I sell 2 more, that should give me 4. So that'll increase me to 8. There we go, that works good. I can buy ladders and I can climb on them and everything works correctly. And you can change the price of any item in the shop and everything works good. And if I have 2 of them in here, as you can see, I sell that and it actually updates the inventory. So there you have it. That is a completed tile game with tile, collision, a shop system, lighting engine, money, and so much more. Thank you so much for watching the final episode in the series. But anyway, this has been Owen and Red Shirt Dude, and I am out.